September 8th, 1968. A 28-year-old engineer floats beneath the Baltic Sea, gripping a torpedo-shaped device powered by a moped engine. Above him, a patrol boat searchlight sweeps the water. He carries no air tank, no backup, no radio. His machine cost $50, a fiberglass shell, a 1-horsepower motor, and a fuel tank. It has never been tested in water. If the engine stalls, he drowns. If he surfaces, guards shoot on sight. 24 kilometers of freezing water separate him from Denmark. He has 5 hours of fuel. But here's what makes this crossing insane. He already tried once and got caught. The Stasi dragged him out of this same ocean, threw him in an interrogation room, and he talked his way out of an 8-year prison sentence. The court confiscated his device but handed back the piece that made tonight possible. 4 years later, his invention is worth millions. 4 years after that, he's found dead under circumstances no one ever explained. How did a technician outsmart East Germany's secret police? And why did the man who escaped the sea die in it? Sebnitz, East Germany, summer of 1958. A 17-year-old named Bernd Böttger stands in a cow pasture holding a 3-stage rocket he assembled from scrap metal in his basement. No manual, no teacher. Just a boy who taught himself propulsion from library books and stubbornness. He lights the fuse. The rocket screams skyward, arcs over a row of houses, and vanishes. For a moment, Bernd grins. This is the first rocket he's built that actually cleared the tree line. Then he realizes he has no idea where it landed. Bernd and 2 friends sprint toward the crash site. They round a corner and stop cold. The rocket is embedded in the dirt courtyard of the Sebnitz district police station. Before the dust settles, 2 men in leather coats kick open the door to his basement workshop. Stasi, the Ministry for State Security, East Germany's secret police, 85,000 full-time officers, and nearly 200,000 civilian informants woven into every factory, school, and apartment block in the country. The Stasi doesn't just enforce the law, it anticipates dissent before it happens, cataloging anyone whose ambitions might lead them to question the state. A 17-year-old building rockets in his basement is exactly the kind of ambition that gets a file opened. One agent pats Bernd down and finds a cartridge of black powder in his jacket pocket. Possession alone carries years in prison. Bernd palms the cartridge behind a stack of coal briquettes while the agent's back is turned. They search the workshop. They find nothing. At 17, he is too young to charge as an adult. The Stasi release him, but they open a file. From this day forward, Bernd Böttger is a name in the system. 3 years later, on August 13, 1961, the Berlin Wall goes up in a single night. Within months, guard towers, minefields, and razor wire seal every meter of the border from Bavaria to the Baltic. Soldiers receive shoot-to-kill orders. Dogs patrol the death strip. Informants watch neighbors through curtained windows. East Germany becomes the largest open-air prison in Europe. 17 million people locked inside, their passports confiscated, their radios monitored, their letters opened and resealed by men in back rooms. Böttger finishes technical college, earns credentials in chemical engineering, learns to strip and rebuild combustion engines, and even trains with controlled explosives for industrial demolition work. The state has invested in him. On paper, he is a model socialist technician with a career trajectory mapped to retirement. In practice, the state has handed a caged man the exact skills he needs to pick the lock. Every piece of training, propulsion, materials engineering, precision assembly is another tool in an escape he hasn't yet designed, but already knows he will attempt. He studies maps of the northern coast at night. The fortified fence runs east to west along the shoreline, but it ends where the sand meets the surf. Beyond the breakers, 24 kilometers of open water separate the East German beach town of Graal-müritz from Denmark. No wall floats, no minefield stretches across the sea. If a man could swim due north, fast enough to outrun the patrol boats and long enough to outlast the cold, he would hit Danish territorial waters before sunrise. On the night of July 7, 1967, Böttger wades into the Baltic and starts swimming north. No flotation device, no engine, no wetsuit thick enough for Baltic summer temperatures, which hover around 15 degrees at night, cold enough to have a swimmer's endurance within the first hour. Stroke after stroke, alone, he pushes through black water. His arms burn. His breathing turns ragged. The cold moves inward from his skin to his muscles to his joints, tightening everything, slowing everything. Hours grind past. Somewhere past midnight, a searchlight locks onto his head. A patrol boat closes from the east. Guards shout orders across the water. They drag him out shivering and handcuff him on the sand. His first escape attempt lasts 6 hours. It ends on the same beach where it began. But the Stasi have just made a critical miscalculation, and it will take them over a year to realize it. What did Böttger tell the interrogators that convinced a judge to let a captured escapee walk free? And what did the court hand back to him that made his second attempt possible? The interrogation room is concrete and fluorescent. 2 Stasi officers sit across from Baron Böttger. They already know about the rocket, the black powder, the chemistry training, the midnight swim. Under East German law, Republikflucht, fleeing the Republic, carries up to 8 years. With his record, he could get more. The officers have files spread across the table, years of documentation tracking every move Böttger has made since the rocket incident. They believe they have him cornered. They are about to discover that a man who builds rockets in his basement is very good at inventing stories under pressure. Böttger does not panic. He tells them he was testing a self-propelled rescue device, a scooter for pulling drowning swimmers to safety. He was never heading for Denmark. He simply got caught in a current. The story has holes wide enough to sail a patrol boat through, but Böttger delivers it with the calm of a man explaining a lab report. In September 1967, the judge convicts him of intent to flee, a lesser charge, and hands down a suspended sentence. No prison time. The court confiscates his underwater device, but it returns his wetsuit. 1 day later, Bernd Böttger walks out of the courthouse and into the September sun. The leniency is not mercy, it is arithmetic. East Germany hemorrhages skilled workers through every crack in the border. Engineers are scarce. A productive technician generating output behind the wall is worth more to the state than a prisoner eating rations in a cell. The court bets that a suspended sentence and a warning will keep Böttger obedient. The court is wrong. What the judge doesn't understand is that Böttger has already spent 6 hours swimming through freezing water toward freedom. A man willing to do that once will do it again, and next time, he won't be swimming. He walks straight to his garage and locks the door. During the failed escape and the weeks of detention that followed, he designed every component of a new machine inside his head. Not on paper, never on paper, because paper can be found in a raid. Now he builds it with his hands. By day, he reports to work like a model citizen, punching the clock, filing reports, smiling at colleagues who may or may not be informants. By night, he bolts, glues, and welds under a single bare bulb. A moped engine here, fiberglass sheeting there, a snorkel hose, a bucket of polyester resin, 6 kilograms of lead melted into ingots for a weight belt. He smuggles in a proper neoprene diving wetsuit from West Germany through the Postal Service, a package that somehow clears customs without triggering a flag. It is the one item the Stasi's confiscation order missed, and the one item that will keep his core temperature above lethal in 17-degree water for 5 hours. One rule governs every decision: no sea trials. Not once, not even a pond test. If he starts the engine near any body of water, the sound or the wake will reach a border guard's ears within minutes. The machine must work perfectly the first time it touches the Baltic, because if it fails, there will be no second attempt, only a cell or a coffin. Every component is a calculated risk. Every weld is a bet on physics he cannot verify. He is building a machine to save his life without ever knowing if it will work until the moment his life depends on it. If you're finding this story as unbelievable as I did, hit the like button and subscribe, because what Böttger builds next in that garage makes the rocket look like a bottle rocket. By late summer 1968, the device is finished. Bernd has never seen it move through water. He has never felt it pull against a current. He has never tested whether the exhaust port floods in a cross wave or whether the fuel line holds under sustained vibration. Every calculation is theoretical. Every joint is a bet. So how does a man who has never once tested his machine decide it is ready? And what does he use for navigation when carrying a compass would get him arrested on the spot? The machine is not a submarine. It is closer to a motorized torpedo with handles, but the engineering is ruthless in its logic. Böttger has no access to advanced materials, no machine shop, no testing facility. He has only what an ordinary East German citizen can legally buy or quietly scavenge. Every design decision is constrained by what he can build in a garage without attracting attention. The result is a machine that looks crude, but functions with terrifying precision. Böttger starts with the only engine available to an ordinary East German citizen, a 49 cubic centimeters two-stroke pulled from a Simpson moped, a model nicknamed the Hühnerschreck chicken scare, for the ungodly racket it makes at full throttle. It produces barely 1 horsepower. He wraps the engine block in a hand-laid fiberglass shell shaped like a torpedo, sealed with polyester resin. A 40-centimeter fuel tank rides on top, holding just enough gasoline for 5 hours at cruising speed. Behind the hull, he mounts a small propeller and 2 grab handles. The entire assembly weighs 22 pounds, light enough to carry under one arm, heavy enough to pull a man through water at a walking pace for hours without overheating. The exhaust is the hardest problem. A 2-stroke engine screams. Underwater, that scream would carry for hundreds of meters and bring every patrol boat in the sector. Böttger channels the exhaust pipe into a foam-padded float that rides at the surface, absorbing and diffusing the sound. It does not silence the engine. It makes it survivable, a low gurgle instead of a chainsaw whine. For air, he rigs a 1-meter snorkel tube from the engine's intake to the surface. The engine breathes through the snorkel. Böttger breathes through his own snorkel, swimming prone behind the device with his face submerged, only the rubber tube tip breaking the waterline. The 6-kilogram lead belt around his waist keeps his body below the surface. From above, the only visible trace is 2 thin snorkel tips and a faint ripple no wider than a dinner plate. Total cost roughly $50. A second-hand engine, scrap fiberglass, resin, rubber hose, lead weights, and the wetsuit he smuggled through the mail. Every pfennig scraped from a technician's salary in a country where the average monthly wage barely covered rent and groceries. For navigation, he memorizes the night sky. A compass needle swinging inside a cockpit would be evidence of escape planning if the Stasi searched his car. Instead, Böttger drills himself on the Big Dipper and Polaris. Locate the 2 pointer stars of the Dipper's blade, extend the line 5 times the distance between them, and there sits the North Star, due north directly over Denmark. If clouds roll in, he is blind. If an eastward current pushes him off bearing, he drifts back toward East German waters. If a western current catches him, he overshoots into Swedish shipping lanes. Every degree of error compounds across 24 kilometers. There is no GPS, no radio beacon, no way to verify his position until he either hits land or sees the lights of a Danish vessel. He will navigate by stars alone, the same way sailors did 1,000 years ago, except sailors had the luxury of surfacing to check their heading without being shot. September 8, 1968. Graal-müritz. Böttger parks his car at a half-empty campground near the beach, pitches a tent like any vacationer, and waits for dark. At 10 p.m., the air is warm, but the water is already cooling toward autumn. He pulls the wetsuit on under a wool sweater. He tucks the 22-pound scooter under one arm, his mask and fins under the other, and walks across the sand. The shore patrol is distant. The sky is moonless and clear. Polaris is visible. He wades in, to his waist, pulls the starter cord, and the Hühnerschreck coughs once, twice, then catches. The propeller spins. He bites down on his snorkel, kicks off the bottom, and the machine pulls him forward and under. The beach shrinks behind him. The lights of Graal-müritz dim to a yellow smear, then disappear. Ahead, 24 kilometers of freezing black water, an unknown number of patrol boats, and a country he will never set foot in again. What he does not know is that the worst moment of the crossing is still 3 hours away, and it will force him to make a decision in under 10 seconds that determines whether he lives or drowns. And when a man navigates by stars alone with no compass and no way to verify his position, What happens if clouds roll in and Polaris disappears? The scooter hums. Butker hangs behind it in a prone glide, legs trailing, hands locked on the grab handles, face down in the water. His snorkel draws air from the surface. The engine's snorkel draws air beside it. Together they cut a wake so small that from 50 meters it is invisible. He threads between overlapping arcs of searchlights sweeping from the shore towers. Each beam takes roughly 12 seconds to complete a pass. He times his breathing to the rhythm inhale when the light swings east, exhale as it swings west. Polaris holds steady above the northern horizon. Every minute that passes without a shout is a minute closer to Denmark. 2 hours in, the water temperature bites through the neoprene. His fingers stiffen on the handles. His jaw aches from clamping the snorkel mouthpiece. The fuel gauge is a guess. He calculated burn rate on paper, but paper does not account for current resistance or the drag of a man's body. If the fuel runs short by even 10 minutes, he will be stranded kilometers from any coast, in water cold enough to kill him in under an hour. Around midnight, a new sound cuts through the engine's drone, the low diesel growl of a patrol boat, dead ahead. Its running lights appear as two white dots closing fast. Butker kills his engine instantly. In the same motion, he unclips the lead weight belt and lets it sink. Without the ballast, his body rises. He clamps his mouth shut, holds his breath, and lets himself float just below the surface as the boat's bow wave rolls over him. The patrol boat passes so close he can feel the hull's vibration in his ribs. Its spotlight sweeps across the water. The beam passes over him and moves on. The diesel growl fades east. He is alone again. Now he faces the consequence of survival. The weight belt is gone. Without it, he rides too high. His shoulders and head break the surface, visible to any searchlight within half a kilometer. And the engine is dead, flooded by the sudden stop. If it does not restart, he has no propulsion and no chance of covering the remaining kilometers before hypothermia shuts his muscles down. He grabs the propeller shaft and cranks it by hand. Once, twice, a third time, harder. The engine coughs, sputters, catches. The propeller bites water. He slams his hands back onto the handles and kicks forward, riding higher now, pushing a visible ripple ahead of him, trading stealth for speed because speed is the only card he has left. He fixes his eyes on Polaris and does not look back. The minutes stretch. His legs cramp. Salt water burns the tear in his wetsuit near the shoulder. He counts strokes to stay conscious. 1, 2, 3, 4, resetting at every 100. Then lights. Not searchlights. These are red and green, low on the horizon, blinking in the steady alternation of maritime channel buoys. Above them, a brighter white light flashes at fixed intervals, the rhythm of a lighthouse marking the southern approach to the Falster shipping channel. He is in Danish waters. He kills the engine, lifts his head fully above the surface for the first time in 5 hours, and shouts into the pre-dawn air. His voice cracks from salt and exhaustion. He shouts again. A spotlight snaps on from a vessel ahead. It is the Gedser Rev lightship, a Danish navigation station anchored roughly 24 kilometers north of where Butker entered the water. Sailors on deck hear a man's voice. They lower a rope ladder, hands reach down and haul Butker aboard. Someone wraps a wool blanket around his shoulders. Someone else presses a mug of hot coffee into his shaking hands. He is trembling so hard he cannot hold it without spilling. Dawn is breaking. The sky east of the lightship turns pink, then gold. Behind that horizon, 17 million people wake up inside the same cage Butker left 5 hours ago. He made it, 24 kilometers on 1 horsepower, through searchlights and patrol boats, without a single test run, on a machine that cost $50. But the Stasi does not forget. And what waits for Butker in the West is not just freedom. It is a target on his back that he will carry for the rest of his life. How long does the rest of his life turn out to be? And who exactly is watching when it ends? By noon on September 9th, 1968, Bernd Butker's face is on the front page of every major West German newspaper. Photographers catch him grinning, holding the scooter above his head. A reporter dubs him Refugee of the Year. For one news cycle, The young engineer from Sebnitz is the most famous escapee in Europe. Industry moves faster than the press. Within days, the West German division of Rockwell International offers Böttger a contract with his own research team, a full salary, and royalty rights on every patent. The crude torpedo he welded together in a locked East German garage enters commercial production. Maritime rescue services buy it. NATO special forces buy it. The 1-horsepower machine built to save one man's life spawns an entire product line. And Böttger now holds intellectual property worth more than the factory that once employed him. Böttger has money, recognition, a laboratory, and a future. He also has a shadow. In East Berlin, the Ministry for State Security opens the operational file Taucher, Diver. Erich Mielke's officers compile every scrap of information on Böttger, his family, his school records, and his colleagues. They tap his mother's phone. They summon his brothers for interrogation. The Stasi's reach does not stop at the border. Its agents operate across Western Europe, planted inside embassies and sleeper cells. A defector who embarrassed the regime on international television is not a closed case. He is an open wound that Mielke's directorate intends to close. Böttger senses the pressure. He tells friends he wants to buy a sailboat not for leisure, but for mobility. A man on a boat is harder to corner. He throws himself into work, designing faster underwater propulsion systems, filing patents. The scooter that nearly killed him is now his livelihood. August 1972. Perpignan, in the south of France. Böttger is 32. He is testing a new scooter prototype with a friend. The water is warm, the visibility good. Böttger straps on his fins and drops below the surface. His friend surfaces a few minutes later. Böttger does not. The friend dives again and finds him lying motionless on a rock ledge 11 meters below the surface. No visible wound, no equipment malfunction. They haul his body to shore. A local doctor records the cause of death as drowning. No autopsy is ordered. No forensic examination of his equipment is conducted. No investigation opens. The body is cremated. Bernd Böttger's mother in Sebnitz receives the news through official channels. She applies for a travel permit to attend her son's funeral in the West. The state refuses. Weeks later, a small package arrives at her door. Inside is a box of ashes. No ceremony, no explanation, no goodbye. After German reunification in 1990, Böttger's brother Achim files a criminal complaint alleging murder. Investigators locate a former Stasi officer connected to the Taucher file. The officer denies any involvement. No witnesses are deposed. No forensic evidence is gathered. The body was cremated 18 years earlier. The case closes without charges. The file goes back into a drawer. No one has ever proven that the Stasi killed Bernd Böttger. No one has ever proven they did not. What is documented is that the Ministry for State Security maintained an active operational file on him for 4 years after his escape, deployed surveillance assets in Western Europe, had both motive and capability for extraterritorial operations against defectors, and tracked his movements with precision. The rest is silence, the same cold silence that filled the Baltic on the night he disappeared beneath it. Bernd Böttger escaped the Iron Curtain on a machine built from a moped engine and $50 worth of scrap. His invention saved lives on 3 continents. His crossing remains one of the most audacious solo escapes in Cold War history. 24 kilometers, 5 hours, 1 horsepower, 0 test runs. He beat the wall, the water, and the guards. He did not beat the shadow that followed him west. If you want to see what happens when a defector swims back into North Korea to save his mother, planned the border breach like an operator with routes, guard rotations, and stillness training, and nearly lost everything inside his own mother's home click here.